Gunshots echo in the dark. A man limps through the rain, blood on his suit and emptiness in his eyes. He reloads slowly, calmly. Dozens of enemies surround him. There is no panic, no hesitation, just focus. A broken body moving with absolute precision, every step measured and every bullet intentional. This is the strange paradox of mastery. The world sees violence, but beneath it there is something deeper, control. The kind of control that only exists when a human being has conquered the battlefield inside their own mind. Because the truth is, the most dangerous weapon in the world is not a gun. It is a disciplined mind. Few fictional characters represent that idea better than John Wick. But the story of mastering the mind does not begin with bullets or revenge. It begins in a much quieter place, inside the human brain. For thousands of years, philosophers and psychologists have repeated the same uncomfortable truth. The only thing a person truly controls is their thoughts and reactions. Everything else, money, reputation, outcomes, success, and failure, moves like weather. But the mind can be trained. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote about this nearly 2,000 years ago while ruling an empire and fighting wars. In his private reflections, he insisted on one simple rule: focus only on what you can control. Your thoughts, your judgments, and your response to chaos. That idea sounds simple, but in reality, it is brutal, because the average human mind is not calm. It is a battlefield filled with fear, anger, regret, comparison, and endless noise. Most people are not defeated by the world. They are defeated by their own thoughts. This is where discipline enters the story. Modern habit science explains something powerful. Changing who you are begins with changing what you repeatedly do. Small behaviors slowly rewrite identity. Tiny habits repeated daily reshape the brain. The philosophy is simple but unforgiving. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. That is the hidden truth about mastery. Great control rarely grows from comfort. It grows from pressure. Pain builds focus, loss builds clarity, and adversity builds discipline. In philosophy, this idea has another name. The obstacle is the way. The meaning is simple but powerful. The very obstacle blocking your path can become the path itself. Failure becomes training, pain becomes information, and resistance becomes strength. Look closely at the structure of Wick's story. He does not win because he is the strongest man in the room. He wins because he is the calmest. In the films, his discipline is visible everywhere. Controlled breathing, minimal words, perfect execution, relentless preparation. His success is tied to rigorous training, focus on skill mastery, and strict personal rules. This is the psychology of mastery. Emotion does not disappear, it becomes direct. The most fascinating detail about the character is that two identities exist inside him: John, the grieving husband, and John Wick, the unstoppable assassin. The tension between those two identities creates the psychological conflict driving the entire story. Two minds, two worlds, and the battle between them defines the character. Because mastering your mind does not mean eliminating emotion. It means choosing which emotion gets control: fear or courage, chaos or discipline, reaction or strategy. Most people live in reaction mode. Something goes wrong and they panic. Someone criticizes them and they explode. A setback appears and they quit. But the disciplined mind pauses, observes, adjusts, and then acts. That is why Stoic philosophers practice something uncomfortable called memento mori, the reminder that life is temporary. The purpose was not fear, but clarity. When you remember life is short, distractions lose their power. Suddenly, the mind becomes sharper, and priorities become obvious. John Wick lives inside that philosophy every day. His world is constant danger, where death is always close. Awareness of mortality creates intensity, forcing presence and forcing focus. Because the real war is never outside, It is inside. Inside the mind that wants comfort instead of discipline. Inside the voice that whispers excuses. Inside the fear that says, stop. The truth is simple. Every human being contains two identities, the comfortable self and the disciplined self. The comfortable self wants ease, sleep more, work less, and avoid risk. The disciplined self wants growth. Train harder, think deeper, move forward. Mastering your mind means choosing which version of yourself gets control, not once, but every day. Every decision becomes a vote for who you become. A distracted mind creates a weak life, while a focused mind creates power. The Stoics understood this, modern psychology confirms it, and stories like John Wick dramatize it. Mastery is not a talent. It is a decision repeated thousands of times, a decision to pause instead of react, to train instead of complain, and to focus instead of drift. Eventually, something extraordinary happens. The chaos outside no longer controls the chaos inside. The mind becomes quiet, clear, and dangerously focused. At that point, the world begins to change, not because circumstances became easier, but because the person facing them became stronger. And that is the real lesson hidden beneath the bullets, the philosophy books, and the psychology of discipline. Master your mind, or your mind will master you.